Nami, Whole Cake Island. Katakuri and Kuma One Piece title cards. Naruto X One Piece by Neon 2020. Rock Lee and Perona costume swap. Luffy in a nutshell. Have no fear, I am too busy to deal with you. I have decided to repay my debt by seizing Doflamingo's head for you. Go on and hide now. No, that's my job. I have to pay back Rebecca for buying me lunch. You started all of this over food? Why Zoro has been on edge since Wano. Ever since Wano ended, all throughout Egghead, and especially in Elbaf, Zoro has been acting different. Not necessarily out of character, just different than he was previously. More prickly, more rude, more quick to insult, more fearful and nervous. He told the crew to trust Vivi and leave her behind. He was curt and demanding with Lilith, refused to leave the ship when they reached the Labo phase, complained when he was told to stay behind in the search for Vegapunk, and struggled fighting Lucci in a very long battle and only pulled out a victory when Sanji trash-talked him. Elbaf, he said that it was pathetic for Luffy to be crying over Vegapunk's death. He offered to attack the giant kids. He interfered in the 1v1 between Luffy and Gaban, blocking an attack that Luffy was already about to dodge anyway, and he consistently argued with Luffy against freeing Loki. And there are more smaller moments, and you know that Oda wants us to notice these because he has other characters point them out. After most of these, the other Straw Hats note that Zoro's being harsh or mean. Zoro has had scenes before of taking charge, but that's not what's happening now. I think the events of Wano shook Zoro. I think fighting Kaido and Big Mom on the roof scared him. The fact he barely beat King by the skin of his teeth scared him, and the scene where he literally sees the Grim Reaper scared the flap out of him. Zoro was unambiguously terrified in that scene, in a way we haven't seen from him before. I think, ever since then, Zoro has been scared of being weak and dying. He already has anxieties over not being strong enough to protect the crew. We saw that a lot pre-time skip after Little Garden, Alabasta, and Thriller Bark, but those fears mostly went away post-time skip. These anxieties were briefly touched on in Punk Hazard, where he told Luffy to take the New World seriously, subtextually scolding himself for being knocked out by the Yeti Cool Brothers, which Sanji mentions. But then they mostly went away in Dressrosa. And at the start of Wano, Zoro was pure cool confidence, but the battle on Onigashima brought these fears back with a vengeance. Having fought and lost to Kaido and Big Mom, he feels the pressure of being an Emperor crew more than anyone else on the Straw Hats. He feels that the Straw Hats need to be unstoppable now for the position they are at, and they aren't. The Straw Hats had to run away from the Elders on Egghead. They couldn't beat them and needed help several times to escape. Against Lucci, Zoro tried going all out from the start with the King of HFIL, and it only burnt him out and made him too tired to finish the fight until Sanji motivated him. He figured that the second strongest of an Emperor crew, as Lucci put it, should be able to beat a CP0 agent quickly, but he wasn't. Oden was able to wield Enma as light as a feather by giving it all the haki it needs, but Zoro isn't at that level yet. He doesn't have that kind of stamina. Zoro said if he tries to hold the King of HFIL too long, Enma will drain all of his haki and kill him. Zoro can only be as strong as Oden for a short time before he burns out. That's why Zoro called out Luffy for being sentimental over Vegapunk. He thinks the Straw Hats need to behave like an Emperor crew now, behave like the Big Mom Pirates or Animal Kingdom Pirates, because he's self-conscious over not being strong enough to live up to that idea. That's why he's so nervous and scared around Gaban and Loki. He subconsciously doesn't trust that he and the rest of the crew are strong enough for what's needed of them. He watched the 5 Satans spawn and all the crew could do was play hot potato until Luffy bounced the bird off by being punched really hard. Also, they just found out the world is flooding. New fave cover photo. Which is better, pre-time skip or post-time skip bounty pictures? Nami art. I am a man of cult. Timmy, you are addicted to H-anime. Nico Robin was hard trained against being beaten. Robin was elegant but wild when she fights. She was mostly knocked down by boss and fatally wounded. That was the biggest difference from Nami, and I feel attractive. I thought she was like a Zoro female version. Of course, it was a long time ago.
What?
Stabbed by a sand Logia, electrocuted by a lightning Logia, frozen by an ice Logia, and then attacked by a snow Logia. Robin can't catch a break with these guys. Zoro's backstory is heavily misunderstood. So, I've been seeing recent Twitter slander about people calling Zoro's backstory garbage. I do agree it's not the best written backstory, but calling it bad is completely untrue. I get it's not as tragic as other characters like Kuma, Sanji, and Law, but people completely ignore the actual implications of his backstory. Firstly, the biggest slander of Zoro's backstory is Kuina's death. Yes, her death is very ridiculous, but that's the entire point. Her death highlights the unfairness of this world. It gave Zoro a reality check by reinforcing a cruel truth that even young/talented people can fall to circumstances beyond their control. Essentially, Zoro understood that Kuina's death was caused by fate, cementing to be one of Zoro's core beliefs. In short, he understands that things were just meant to happen, like him gambling with his arm with Sandai Kitetsu to test if he is destined to wield this sword. Additionally, it ties into his whole philosophy of strength. Zoro isn't just chasing power for the sake of it. His entire dream is built on the idea that he has to surpass fate itself. He doesn't just want to be the strongest swordsman, he wants to prove that pure will and effort can overcome any limitation, whether it's societal expectations, like Kuina being told she couldn't be the strongest because she was a girl, or fate itself. Another thing people overlook is how Zoro's backstory subtly reinforces his loyalty to Luffy. Unlike many other Straw Hats, Zoro didn't suffer from deep-seated trauma or betrayal. Instead, he learned early on that the world isn't fair, and the only way to fight against that unfairness is through personal strength and conviction. That's why he aligns with Luffy so naturally, because Luffy embodies the idea of forging your own path despite what the world says is possible. Zoro's backstory may not be as emotionally gut-wrenching as Law's or Sanji's, but it serves its purpose perfectly. It sets up his character's ideology, his respect for strength, his willingness to put his life on the line for his dreams, and his unwavering loyalty. Just because it isn't a tragic backstory doesn't mean it's bad, it's just different. In my opinion, Zoro's writing is underrated and is heavily slandered because people look into it at a surface level. Zoro's backstory motivates the common folks. Eventually, when he becomes the world's greatest swordsman, that's when he proves that dreams will come true if you just work really hard towards it. Same as Kobe's story. Just my 2 cents. LMAO, this shot I took of Nami. I saw this and started laughing hysterically. Robin's hairline as well. Was this the only time Sanji pointed a weapon against a woman? Turns out, he's pointing it at Usopp. The current major factions. Isn't Fishman Island also Luffy's territory? I drew Nami. Reference, Momo Ayase from Dandadan's iconic opening. I miss Tomboy Nami. Hilariously timed Crunchyroll error. They're freaked out because I can't finish my episode.